Hello students, this is Miss Larson, and today I want to talk to you about vertebrates. First of all, what is a vertebrate? Well, all vertebrates belong in phylum Chordata, so they're also known as chordates, and they are animals with a backbone. Remember, we already talked about invertebrates, which were animals without a backbone. There are three main features that all vertebrates share: a notochord, a nerve cord, and throat pouches. What are the 5 classes of vertebrates? There are fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. Which class do you think humans fit into? Yep, you got it. Humans are mammals. How do you think vertebrates control their body temperature? There are 2 different ways. Either they can be ectotherms or endotherms. Animals that are ectotherms produce little internal body heat. Their body temperature changes with the change in temperature of the surrounding environment. Animals that are endotherms are animals that control their own body temperature by producing and regulating its own body heat. Their body temperature remains fairly constant and does not fluctuate depending on the surrounding environment. What do you think are some examples of animals that are ectotherms and endotherms? What are humans? Are humans ectotherms or endotherms? Yep, humans are endotherms. Their body temperature remains fairly constant, around 98.6% or 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, and it doesn't change if it's colder outside or hotter outside. If we get too hot, 10 degrees too hot, we die. If we're 10 degrees too cold, we die. Even less than that, actually. What are some ways that you can think of that endotherms help control their body temperature? For example, when humans get too hot, we start to sweat. When our sweat evaporates, it produces a cooling effect on the body. This is one way that humans control their body temperature. Can you think of any other ways that endotherms control their body temperature? The first class of vertebrates that we'll talk about are fish. Fish all live in the water, they use fins to move, and they use gills to breathe. Most fish are ectotherms. There are 3 main groups of fish, the first being jawless fish, like this lamprey up in the corner. Now these guys may look a little scary, but they don't have any jaws. Second, we have bony fish, such as this, I think it's a bass. Now, bony fish are all fish that have jaws and have a bony skeleton. So think of goldfish, sunfish, walleye, bass, northern, any type of regular fish with a jaw that has bones. Finally, we have cartilaginous fish, such as this great white shark. Cartilaginous fish also have jaws, however, they do not have a bony skeleton. Instead, they have a cartilaginous skeleton. The second class of vertebrates are amphibians. Amphibians are all ectotherms, and they all lay their eggs in the water. Amphibians spend the beginning part of their life in the water and the adult part of their life on land. Because of this, they need to be well adapted for both an aquatic and a terrestrial environment. They spend the beginning part of their life as a larva, living in the water. The later part of their life, they mature into their adult form, which is better suited for a terrestrial environment. Examples of amphibians are this frog, salamander, and toad. Now some of you may be wondering, what's the difference between a frog and a toad? Can you come up with any ways that frogs and toads are different by looking at these 2 pictures? These are some of the ways that I have come up with. First of all, frogs, they need to live near water. They have smooth, slimy looking skin, and it's pretty porous to the environment, so their water can evaporate pretty easily. Toads don't need to live near water. They have rough, bumpy, dry skin, and it does not allow for a lot of water loss. So they don't need to live near the water. Frogs have narrower bodies, whereas toads have wider bodies. Frogs also have longer hind legs, and they take long high jumps. Toads have shorter, less powerful legs and usually will run or take small hops as opposed to long jumps. Frogs also have more predators than toads. Toads don't taste very good to predators, so usually other animals don't like to eat them as much. The third class of vertebrates that we'll talk about are reptiles. Reptiles are also all ectotherms. They have scaly skin, they have lungs, and mostly they lay their eggs on land. Now this is a very important evolutionary development, being able to lay their eggs on land. This allowed reptiles to move away from their water sources. They have scaly skin, they don't let a lot of their water evaporate out, so they don't have a lot of water loss, and their eggs have thick coverings over them, so they don't lose water either, so they can be laid on land. This allows them to live in a larger variety of environments. Some of you might be thinking at this point, is a turtle a reptile or amphibian? What do you guys think? Well, turtles are actually reptiles. Their eggs do not need to be laid in the water. Even this sea turtle travels onto land and digs a hole in the sand in order to lay their eggs. The fourth class of vertebrates that we'll talk about are birds. Birds are endothermic, so here's a change. All the rest have been ectothermic, so birds are endothermic. They lay their eggs on land, they have feathers, and they also have a four-chambered heart. Now this is another evolutionary advantage. Having a four-chambered heart as opposed to a three-chambered heart like reptiles and amphibians allow them to be more efficient at carrying oxygen in their blood. Having a four-chambered heart means that the oxygenated blood is always separate from the unoxygenated blood in their system. It takes a lot of extra energy to be an endotherm and to produce our own body heat. So that's why having an efficient four-chambered heart is an advantage. The fifth and final class of vertebrates are mammals. Mammals are also endotherms, just like birds. We also have that same four-chambered heart that separates our oxygenated blood from our unoxygenated blood, because again, it takes a lot of energy to be an endotherm. So we need, the extra efficient heart. Our skin is covered with fur or hair. Even those dolphins have a little bit of hair on them. We also feed our young with milk. There are three main groups of mammals. There are monotremes. Now, monotremes are animals that lay eggs. There are also marsupials. Marsupials are born at an early stage of development, and then they crawl into their mother's pouch and continue to develop. Then there are placental mammals. Placental mammal babies develop inside their mother's body until its body systems can function completely independent of its mother. Now, placental mammals, if you look at that word, we have placenta in it. Now, placenta was also a very important evolutionary advantage. It allows the mother to pass on their nutrients to their baby. So that's kind of interesting. That's different than, giving birth to a baby when it's very young and then carrying it in your pouch, or, laying eggs. We're able to carry our babies inside of us and give them nutrients until they're fully developed and their body functions can function on their own. Now, the reason why I'm saying our is because humans are placental mammals. And there you have it. That is a brief introduction to vertebrates, and thank you for watching.